The Council on Competitiveness bills itself as the only group of CEOs, university presidents, and labor leaders currently working to ensure U.S. prosperity. And the linchpin of this is tied to energy. Joining us now is Deborah Wince-Smith. She is president of the Council on Competitiveness. Deborah, great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm delighted to be here.
I want to read to you the way the Council bills itself, its mission statement, if you will, and I'll quote here: "The future economic prosperity of the U.S. is tied to our ability to create a sustainable and balanced energy system. The private sector is the pivotal actor in achieving energy system transformation with speed and at scale." The role of the private sector is hard to overemphasize, it seems.
Well, you know, the private sector, of course, is the engine for jobs and for innovation in our country. And when you look at the scale and the scope of this energy transformation, it's really going to be our industry that's going to lead this change in America.
So this week, the National Energy Summit begins, the focus on sustainable energy. And among the items on the agenda, Deborah, 2, driving private sector demand and jump-starting infrastructure and manufacturing. And it sounds like that is all drawn-out language for creating and maintaining jobs that are domestic.
Yes, and you know, Tyler, we sometimes forget that everything we do as human beings depends on energy. Not just, you know, the type of energy, but the cost, you know, where we get it, the availability of all of that. And so when you think of this transformation, how we make things, how we are going to drive our services, our IT, it all depends on energy. So it is one of the great times in human history where we're going to see our economy move from a fossil fuel-based economy to renewable, sustainable energy. So it's a very, very exciting time for America.
In your mind, Deborah, is this the first administration to really tie job growth with growth in the energy sector? We hear so much about green jobs from the Obama administration.
I think that, you know, we can see if we go back actually the time of President Nixon, you know, they were all talking about energy, but it's the acceleration of the need and the imperative for linking this with job and manufacturing that this administration has really zeroed in, and I think they deserve credit for that.
Back in July in California, the Council on Competitiveness held the Western Energy Summit. I was fortunate enough to be there as one of the moderators for the panels. And one of the overarching themes here was the role of California as the innovation incubator. What makes California so special, and is that something that can be duplicated on a national scale to drive this innovation?
Well, California is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, incredible universities and research infrastructure, but also, you know, a number of our great national laboratories, Lawrence Livermore Lab, NASA Ames, Jet Propulsion Lab. So a lot of the incubation for the new technologies and the new game-changing ways of using and developing energy are coming out of that. But then you link that to that whole Silicon Valley venture capital, startup, entrepreneurial culture that is unique in the world, and you really have a cauldron of creativity and a cauldron for real game-changing action. And you have a consumer population that is committed to moving to more green, sustainable energy usage and efficiency. So it really brings together all the pieces for this new transformation of energy and innovation.
So we've discussed the private role, but the public role is also essential in this. And I look at some of the members on your honorary committee. Both of the top members of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, Chairman Jeff Bingaman, also Ranking Republican Lisa Murkowski. On the House side, 2 of the leaders of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Henry Waxman and Bart Gordon, are both on this. There's no question, everything runs through the public sector, either through legislation or regulation, correct?
Absolutely. And the private sector really has to work with the government to create these enabling conditions for the innovation and the change. You know, a couple examples. Tax policy. You know, where companies invest, where they do their research, where they do their manufacturing. A lot of this depends on the mix of incentives and regulatory properties that drive this. The U.S., quite frankly, needs to do a better job on some of those overarching conditions, and that's where the public sector really needs to join our private sector to create those incentives and remove the barriers in tax, fiscal, and regulatory policy.
Deborah, final question. Among the speakers you have on hand, Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, also Energy Secretary Stephen Chu. How much difference does it make to private industry to have such a well-versed and enthusiastic advocate and scientist running the Department of Energy right now?
Well, I think everybody's thrilled about the appointment of Secretary Chu. Not only is he a Nobel Prize scientist, but he's run a huge laboratory. I mean, he really knows what's at stake. He also knows, and he's an optimist, that this country has the smartest people, tremendous laboratories, universities, private sector, if we decide we are really going to be the place that figures out energy storage, that solves the battery challenges, deals with carbon capture and sequestration, we are going to be the innovation machine for this, but not just for our own citizens, but driving global growth. And we link this to the imperative for protecting our environment. So it's a fantastic time of opportunity and change for our country.
Deborah Wince-Smith is president of the Council on Competitiveness. The National Energy Summit begins later this week here in Washington, D.C. Deborah, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Tyler.
And you can catch gavel-to-gavel coverage of the National Energy Summit through Clean Skies News and our website, cleanskies.com.